In today's video, I'll show you how to create groups in Power Query Editor so you can organize your queries. So right now I've got just two queries here, which are Excel files, which is an Excel file that I imported. But as you're working through your Power BI project, you may have a lot of queries listed here, depending on the data sources that you work with. And it can become messy very quickly. So by creating groups, it will allow you to organize your queries. So basically, to create your group, just right click on this white sort of blank space here, and then you'll have all these options here. You can create a new query, a new parameter, or a new group. So we'll create a new group. So just click on that. So we'll select a group name. So I start off by creating a group for all my source files. So let's say 01, and that's for source files. Okay, click OK. Okay, next, I'm going to create a group for all my parameters and functions. Okay, so I just call them parameters or functions. And as you see, I put that as 00, so that's going to be right on the top. And you can even move the groups around. Okay, just select the group and sort of do a drag and drop with your mouse. Now I want it to be in the same level. Okay, so I'll just move this parameter here, which we created in our last Power BI tip video. So I'll just move that up. Sorry, I'll move it down to parameters and functions, but this one has to go on top above 01 source. Okay, so now I'll move these two queries here because these are direct imports for my Excel file. I'll move them into source. Okay, so all my source files, so all my connections directly from the source will be saved under source. Now we'll create another group. I'll name that 02, and I like to call that staging. So staging basically means that this is where all my data will be transformed. Okay, so I'll leave that as that for now, staging. And finally, the final layer, I like to call that the DWH. That's for data warehouse, meaning that's the final layer, and that's where I'll have all my dimension and fact tables stored here. Okay, so let me just give you an example. Okay, say, for example, this is my source file. I will do a reference of that. I will not do any transformation here. This is the direct import from the source file. Okay, so I will leave the file as is, or this query as is, and I'll do a reference. So basically what a reference is just a pointer to the source query. So my source query is the revenue table. So I'll create a reference. And now this reference here, I'm going to move it down to the staging folder or group. And now I'll rename that to STG for staging. Okay, so it's in the staging area that I will start to transform my data. Okay, for example, here I don't need year and month. Okay, I will just identify the columns that I need. So select year and month. I don't need notes as well, so I'll delete these three columns, right click and say remove columns. Okay, so I'll do some other transformation steps here. I won't go through it in this video. The main aim is to show you how to create groups. So I'll do whatever transformation that I need to do in this query. And then once it's done, I will do another reference. Okay, so the reference will be for my final table, which will be going under the DWH folder. That's like the data warehouse. That's like the final table. And I will call this fact for my fact table. Okay, and this I'll rename that to fact revenue. I can rename that well. Okay, so that's where I will have my final query that will be imported into Power BI. So that means I can go on and disable the loading of the other queries. That's fine. You can just click on continue. I'll do the same for the query that's under the staging folder. I'll disable load. Okay, so the only table that will be loaded into Power BI would be my fact table. Okay, so whenever I have, or if I have a lot of queries here, I know exactly that all the queries that are under the staging folder, this is where I'll be doing most of the transforming step. Okay, whatever that's under source, this is the data that's imported from my source file. Okay, so it just allows me to track through the changes as I'm working in Power Query Editor. Okay, so these are the three main groups that I usually create. Okay, I've got my parameters for any parameters or functions that I will add. I've got my source folder for the source files, the direct import from the source system. And then I've got my staging where I'll transform most of my data. And finally, I do a reference and I will create my fact and my dimension tables and add them to the data warehouse folder or group. Okay, so using groups is a really good way to organize your query in Power Query Editor.